Hey guys, so you're here because you're looking to figure out how you can calculate the fees that you want to receive from the employers, right? Based on the people that you match into opportunities, right? And this calculator does a number of things. First of all, there are four different versions of this calculator, and it does a number of things. And one of the things that it does is that it allows you to see how much you can pay your candidate on the staffing side, how much you'll receive from the client, how much you're going to allocate towards your burden, and then it also shows the possibility of what you can make in a quarter, in a week, in a month, in a year, and which is really cool because it allows you to kind of forecast. It allows you to plan, to goal set, to create milestones, and it gives you something to work towards. And then that way you can create the measurements, the performance measurements that you need to obtain on a consistent basis, so that you can make the number of placements that you need to and hit your numbers. So I'm just going to show you really quickly like how the calculator works. And then hopefully this will be helpful to you in making a decision as to whether or not you want to purchase it, so that you can calculate your own things. So needless to say, this is on the top piece. This is the direct hire calculator. So this is all about your direct hire fees. Okay, so when you get your calculator, you would enter your target salary. I like the professional solutions side because the salaries are higher, and I'm dealing with a higher level of professionalism with the people that I'm placing. I'm solving a different type of solution for companies, and it just brings me joy from that perspective. There's nothing wrong with commercial solutions. Everybody has their sweet spot. I like professional solutions. So the average salary on the professional solutions side is $80,000 a year. So I'm going to put $80,000 in because this is my minimum direct hire numbers. Like when I'm just like thinking about what's the least, and I'm just talking about forecasting now. What's the bare minimum salary of my particular position? And sometimes you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to do research and see what type of position that you're working on, so that you can figure out what the salary range is. This will also help you to define how much you're going to make, right? So I'm here saying $80,000. The fee that I'm charging my client is 15%, and that means that I am going to receive a $12,000 check. If I have a recruiter, right, then and I have an account manager or somebody who brought the sales and business development in for me, I'll calculate commission for them as well. So for the recruiter, the commission is 12%. For the account manager, the commission is 13%. And you just made $9,000 after commission. If you don't have any commission, or you don't have a recruiter or account manager, and it's just you doing this business solo, you would have made the full $12,000, okay? A lot of times people charge 15% to the hiring manager because they're brand new and they don't know their worth, and they think that's all that they're worth. So they charge this little eensy beensy 15% for all the work that you're doing. No, ridiculous. We don't do that. You really want to go in charging, or at least offering a percentage of 30%, and allow them to negotiate down. Know your worth. You are doing everything that they are unable to do at the level that they want to do it, right? You have the network, you have the talent that they're looking for. So here, this is $80,000 salary still, but instead you're charging the client 30%. You now get a $24,000 check. And your commission is 12% for the recruiter, which they now receive more, and for the account managers, which now they receive more. And then after your commissions, you get $18K. Now, sometimes they say, the client will look and say 30%. No. We're typically being charged 20%. And you say, however, you're not finding what you're looking for. But since you're a brand new customer, we can take it down to 28%. I don't have a problem with that. And so now you're negotiating down, and so you can see how your fee consistently changes. And with some people, they'll start at 30% and the client will negotiate them all the way down to 20%. 20 is the industry standard right now. If you start at 30% and they negotiate you down to 20, that's so much better than starting at 20 and then them negotiating you down to 15. You're losing so much money, right? So you really want, first of all, you have to understand your worth. So if you're presenting average candidates, 15% may be exactly where you need to be charging. If you're picking people off the job board, just like the same people they can get, yes, 15%. But if you are charging, if you are working, if you're tapping into your network, if you're tapping into your industry's network, if you're attending events, if you are constantly building relationships with people, if you're constantly meeting people within your niche space and learning more about them and their career goals and where they want to go and what they want to do and what they have done, accomplished and achieved, then this percentage is not even worth it. Your value is so much more than 20%. Your value is really 30%. Because you're spending most of your time learning the people that they want to hire. And it's not just anybody and everybody that you're submitting to them or just anybody who's saying that they want a job. You're really taking the opportunity and really taking the time to say, you know what? I'm going to find the match, the fit for this client. And I'm going to tap into this entire market, everyone with this job description or job description right below this or title right below this particular title, because they may be looking to increase their title, right? Get a career move, make a career move, right? So you want to tap into that entire space and connect with people who you believe would be a perfect fit for your client. Then your value goes up. Okay, then your value goes up. Your value goes up to 30% when you are able to understand what your client is actually trying to do in the business, what type of challenges they're looking to solve, and you going out and finding the right person to be able to help solve that problem or do that thing that they need. Then your value is 30%. But if you are a typical average recruiter who are pulling people off the job boards or just finding waiting for somebody to respond to your ad, 15% may be where you want to be. And this isn't supposed to be even a training call. This is more of me just showing you how the calculator works, and I got passionate. Okay, so bear with me here. So you have to define where your value is based on your value proposition, based on how you support your clients. Being as though the industry standard is 20%, I'm going to actually add 20% right there. And that may give you a better realistic number of where you want to be. But your goal should be 30%, right? And yes, there are clients that will pay for quality and pay for value, just like there are people, consumers that will pay for a Bentley, that will pay for a Mercedes-Benz versus a Kia, right? Or you see what I'm saying? Okay, so now over here, I'm just giving you some context here, okay? So the context is that if you make 2 placements a month, one placement where you're placing somebody at 15% every month, and one placement where you're placing somebody at 20% every month, you have just made $252,000 for the year. That's only 2 placements per month at a salary of $80,000 a year plus commission. If we take that commission off, that number will definitely go up. There you go, you'll see. So if you don't have anybody on staff helping you with sales, then as you can see, that number goes up. But I'm going to leave that number in because you're here to start a business. You're not here to be the business. You're here to start the business. You're here to hire staff and to grow the business and create an automated system. Now, you don't have to worry about any of this, but this is what you do want to worry about here. The $4,000 you just lost by charging 15% versus 20%. Okay, so that you really see, you would lose $12,000 if you charge 15% versus 30%. So that's what that number is. Okay, so that means stay away from that 15% unless that is where you are in the business. This is direct hire and how you calculate your direct hire fees using the infamous calculator. And you can get a copy of this calculator at recruitmentstore.com. Now, I am going to show you how to use the contract side, all right, of the calculator. So the contract side of the calculator is used like this. So this is your bill rate. This is what you are charging your clients, okay? And then you have your pay rate. This is what you're actually paying your candidate. Okay, there's burden. There's something called a burden, right? That's your taxes, your benefits, your insurance, all of that stuff. That number gets calculated right here. Now, we don't touch the red number, okay? We don't touch anything in the red. We only touch what's in the white box. That's the only thing we touch. It's already pre-calculated unless you want to change the calculations, and you can feel free to do so if it makes sense, okay? So don't just go in, because I've already put the number, the formulas in there for you. But again, if you're a math whiz or you want to do something different, you can definitely change the formulas. But if you're using this in the way that it has been used for years, many years for me and many of other, I think we've had over 500 downloads for this product. So people are using it and they're calculating their fees. You definitely want to just fill in the white box. So now, so your bill rate here is, let's just see. Your bill rate, let's just do a basic bill rate of $100 an hour. Okay, so let's just say we're charging a company $100 an hour. Do companies pay $100 an hour? Of course they do. There are companies that pay $500 an hour, depending on the particular type of position. For this particular position, we're going to say the company is charging $100. You're charging the company $100 an hour for an employee to come in and do something. Okay, so what are you going to pay that candidate, right? So if you said, I'm a fair person, I want to pay that candidate $50 an hour, which if you're paying your client, billing your client $100 an hour, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to pay that candidate way more than $50 an hour. But we're going to use that for this example. So if you did that, then you have a 50% markup going on. So 50% markup. Okay. And then you have, or $50 markup, right? And then you have the burden that's included, which is 23.95%, which is typical for not for the healthcare space, but definitely everything other than healthcare and maybe even warehouse. This is a typical number, and also this is valid for every place except for New York and California. Those two, it goes up to 41 point something. But your typical burden is going to be around 23.95%, right? And so then you can define what that burden is going to be per hour. So this is a per hour rate, right? Because everything we're looking at is per hour. And then it'll give you kind of your loaded contractor pay rate. So what it's going to cost to actually employ someone, even though you're only paying them $50, what the entire cost is going to be to have this person on. So then what you get out of that is your gross profit margin, which is $38 or 38%. So we like to stay somewhere between 28 and 40%. Robert Half is somewhere around 43%. So anything lower than 28, you may not make enough revenue to be able to sustain your staff and to sustain your business and pay all the bills. So you really want to be somewhere, in that 28, 26 at the bare minimum, but 28 being low, talking about your gross profit margin. So if all we do is change these numbers. So let's just say I have to pay the candidate $60 an hour. Now my gross profit margin is down to 40%. I'm making 25.63. That's not acceptable. So now you can start figuring out, okay, so what's the range that I can actually afford to pay this candidate and still be able to pay commission out and to be able to pay the bills and all of that stuff, right? So let's look at the number. I'm gonna actually play with the numbers here. So we know this 40%, the 60% is a little too high. So let's just take it down a little bit here to 58%. So that gives me 28% as a gross profit margin. So that means $58. I'm just gonna write that number down. All right, so now let's take this number and say 48. All right, so now my gross profit margin is 40.5%, which is super duper high, right? But now that is $48, right? So now I kind of have somewhat of a pay range that I can pay this candidate. I can pay them between $48 and $58 an hour in order to maintain a healthy gross profit margin for myself. And this isn't even a 60% markup. So this is a 52% markup, right? So it's not even, in some companies charge a 65% markup. So this is kind of on the high end. This is when you're delivering high value, high quality. This is one way that you can calculate these numbers. Actually, we have a multiplier calculator here on the bottom, which is very similar, except it's calculated a little bit differently, because I've noticed in the industry, everybody calculates their fees somewhat differently. So here, this is where you have a multiplier markup percentage, so 1.8. Multipliers usually range between 1.5 and 1.8, with 1.67 being the industry and average. So you can do the industry average, change that number to there, right? And we have what our burden is, and then you still put the hourly rate in. So $100 an hour, and then you're still putting, you've got the 1.67. So let's say 50. So the numbers still come out 38, 1.67. So everything is calculated in there for you. And then the same thing with the markup over pay rate, same thing. So this is another way that people are billing. So people are doing it in many different ways. So the markup percentage, if it's 65%, and I'm paying the candidate $50, and what did we decide earlier? We said $58 an hour. Then it tells me I'm billing my client $95.77 an hour. So see, it calculates it a little bit differently. So now you get the loaded contractor pay rate is $71.89, and the gross profit margin you're making is 24.8%. So it calculated it a lot differently. So this calculator is used typically when people are trying to negotiate the lowest rates possible, right? So everyone uses a different version. I mean, I don't feel like there's an industry standard, just because through my research and talking to different agencies, these are the three models that I have seen to be consistent, if that makes sense. And so I use the high value calculator, and but I know my client in New York, he uses the markup over pay rate model, right? So everybody does something different. So you can choose which model you want to choose. I deliver the highest level of quality, the highest level of value. I use the high value calculator. Very simple. Now, really quickly before I end this video, I wanted to let you know that you can see on the contracting side how much you can make based on how many people you have on billing. So with these numbers, let's say the client starts out and says, just start with one person. Okay, you get one person on billing. Let's say this person, because we've decided we can offer this job between $48 and $58 an hour. So when we're calling people, we can let them know we have a position, we have an opportunity for da 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 da. The role is the range within the role is between 48 and 58. I typically say 56 or 55, so if I can, so that it gives me a little bit more room on my margin to be able to give the candidate increases as they continue to do certain things. So like if the candidate shows up to work every day on time, this first 30 days, we'll do another 25% increase. If the candidate doesn't take any days off, we'll do another 25%. You see what I'm saying? So now I have a little bit more leverage to be able to retain my contractors. And for some of you, they're temps. For many of you, they're contractors, but it gives me an opportunity to retain them because I am rewarding them consistently for the work that they're doing while they're on contract, right? It also gives, so that's the main reason, right? Also, most people will always ask for the absolute highest number. So if they ask for the 58, then you have no wiggle room. So if you offer 58, you have no wiggle room. So you offer 48 to 55 and you see if you can get the quality level of person for that price. If you can, perfect, because then you can incentivize as you go along. If not, you may have to keep it at 58. In some instances, your client's going to come back, your candidates are going to come back, you're going to talk to people, you're going to see in the market that they need 68. So you're going to have to define whether or not you are willing to go that far and lose, or whether you're going to go back to your client and tell him that he needs to increase the bill rate, right? Based on market value, based on what you found in the market. So you got to be really strategic about how you use this. So one person, this client says one person on billing. So this person is typically, if they stayed on for a full year, and there are contracts where you'll place people for one day. There are contracts where you'll have people on billing for 5 years. I think the longest I've seen is 8 to 10 years. Okay. So it can really differ depending on the type of contract you're signing. So let's say this person is staying on contract for 6 months to a year. Let's say a year. So you would have made $84,000 off of this person for the course of that year, right? $7,000 per month, $1,620.16. That's if this person is on billing for 40 hours a week. But what if this client came back and said, no, we need to have 5 people to complete this particular department. So you raise that number to 5, and now you've made $421,000 a year. You're doing $8,000 a week, 200 hours a week. That's with 5 people on billing, all the same bill rate, okay, for a whole entire year. All right, so you're seeing this from a yearly basis, okay? And so just understand, let's say that they went and they said 25. We need 25 people for the course of the year. Now you're making $40,000 a week and at $2.1 million a year, right? And so these are not if you're placing 25 people that are going to be on billing for a year, these numbers are 100% accurate. But if you are placing people at many different pay rates, right, and bill rates, but this number is going to vary naturally. But you'll get an estimate, somewhat of an estimate of what you can make. So let's just say these are your bare minimum numbers for all of the different pay rates that you have. And you put 25 on here. You know your actual weekly number and yearly total is going to be higher, right? Because these are your bare minimum numbers. So you're looking at your bare minimum numbers, knowing that you will never go below these numbers if possible. And everything that you do from this point on will be so much higher, right? So that way, that'll give you an idea of seeing, like, what do I need to create, or how many people do I need to place to be able to hit the $2 million mark or the $1 million mark? How many people do I need to have on billing all year long minimum, right? Even if it's a 6-month contract or a 13-week contract, you want to have somebody billing consistently. This number represents a body consistently billing all year long, okay? So you have 15 people billing all year long. You're at 1.2 million a year, which doesn't include anything that you're doing on the direct hire space. So you put those two numbers together, you're at a $1.5 million business. 15 people consistently on billing all year long and 2 direct hire placements per month. You can do this. All right. So that's how you work the calculator on a very basic level. Okay. Now let's take it a step further. Let's say that you have somebody on per diem. Now you're just going to add in your numbers differently and add the per diem cost in. Okay, if you have someone 1099 contractor, you put in the bill rate, you put in the pay rate, and then there's a 7% fee burden, except rather than a 23%, because they're really managing the majority of those costs that are associated with being a 1099 contractor, right? They're paying their own taxes and different things like that. If you're going corp to corp, then the structure is a little bit different. So let's talk a little bit about corp to corp. Corp to corp has four parties involved, okay? The client is party number one, all right? So let's just put this here. Number one, the client is party number one. All right. The company that you're working with. So is party number two. So let's just say that you are working on an IT position, and the IT position is something that you're not familiar with. So you reach out to another company who has a pipeline of these people, and you say, listen, I've got a client. Let's say the client is Home Depot, who's one of my favorite examples, and they need an ERP developer. That's not my niche. Can you find me an ERP developer? He says, yes. And you say, okay, so great. My bill rate to you is, okay? My bill rate to you is. So here is where you're going to define what the bill rate is for that company, okay? So I'm going to do that in a second. But before I do that, let me continue to explain. That company now has control over what the pay rate is going to be for the candidate that he's going to present to you. You have nothing to do with how much that candidate gets paid at this point. The only thing you have to worry about is getting the bill rate that you're billing to your client, to the company that that's supporting you with that candidate. That's it. And then they'll take care of the pay, and that candidate is on their payroll. So they would bill you, okay, for the hours that candidate worked, and then you would pay them. So this is a corp to corp agreement. You are your client is billing you, and then you're going to bill another company for their candidate. All right. So let's look at that. So let's still work with the $100 an hour. We already figured out what our numbers were on the left-hand side in regards to the pay rate, right? We figured that out because we said between 48 and 58. Well, we can give them top dollar because we really do want to have a good candidate, right? So we can tell them that the bill rate is $58 an hour. So that to me is a little unethical. I wouldn't do that. But that on the higher end, those numbers, that's where those numbers would be, because you want to make sure that candidate, that company is able to, what's the word that I'm looking for? Able to find somebody of quality to do the job. All right. So now there are some IT professionals that will work for pennies on the dollar, but you want to, and they are quality, but you want that company to be able to make some money off of this, and you want them to be able to pay your candidate. So you can pay a little bit differently. Okay. So I have a 52% markup. So that is unacceptable. I can do something like this. I could even say I only want to make $30 an hour off of this because I'm not paying any burden or whatever. This is pure profit, right? So you can let them bill out as with a 30% markup, or you can say, let's just say 80. Let me see, 74. Hold on, let's do this. 72. I did it wrong. I was going backwards. There you go. So you could do it like that, where you give them a bill rate of $72 an hour to that company, right? So this is not enter the amount that you're paying the contract. This is enter the amount that you are paying. And I need to edit that because this is enter the amount. Where's the comment? How do I edit the comment? Y'all are seeing this live. I know that is not professional. You do not have to say that, but this is the real D. Williams, and let's edit comment. And I believe in being authentic. Okay, so enter the amount that you are paying ABC company, that you are paying. So this is the amount. Let me move this over for a second. So this is what you're billing your client. This is what you will make. And then that's what you'll pay ABC. So this is what you will make. Oh, so this is what you're billing. This is what you are billing the client. I mean, that's it. It doesn't even need the yellow part. This is what you're billing the client. You have no control over what the hiring manager does. Okay, so this is what you're billing the client. You've made a 28% margin. You pay ABC this. ABC takes this, and now $72 an hour becomes ABC's bill rate, and or with their candidate that they're bringing on, or maybe it's a full-time employee for them. Who knows? But typically they're contracting that candidate out. That company needs to have paperwork. So in order to work with them, you have to treat them like they're a vendor of yours, and they will become a vendor. Just like you'll be a vendor to a Home Depot or AT&T, that company will become a vendor to you, because that's someone that you'll pay out. So they'll bill you every pay period or every 30 days or whatever, and then you'll pay them out. So as you can see, you can use a company, you can partner with someone to fill your candidate, and the calculator will show you kind of what you need that rate and that fee to be. You can use a 1099 contractor. Be careful, because the government does come and do pop-up audits, and I think it starts at 10 grand. So make sure that they are okay. It's okay for them to be a 1099. If you're hiring somebody with per diem, you can calculate your fees there. You can also calculate your fees, which is where you should typically be, is a W-2 with burden. Okay, and then here you can calculate how many employees it will take for you to have on billing, for you to see what kind of goals you want to create for yourself. So this is a super long demonstration video, but I felt like it was super important for you to understand how the calculator works, so that you can easily define how you want to grow your business, and you can also, keep tabs on how you want to, bill your clients and bill your candidates, and create vendor partnerships and all that great. So I hope this was helpful. Grab your copy at recruitmentstore.com so that you can get into the calculator a little bit more. Also, really quickly, as I stated earlier, these are the values that you can change. If you know how to change the values, if you don't, and you don't understand how Excel spreadsheets work and how I calculated the formulas, don't change them. There are also 2 other calculators that will make your soul so happy. So make sure you check those out and see which one works best for you. My name is Dee Williams, and I show professionals how to start and scale their very own niche recruitment and staffing agency business. You can find this calculator at recruitmentstore.com. Have an absolutely phenomenally amazing day. Thanks for watching. Bye.